Hey guys, Game Meister here, and today we're going to be doing my orcust fiendsmith deck profile. Now, orcust fiendsmith isn't the best deck of the format, but it's actually one of the funniest I've had. But without further ado, let's get on with the deck profile. I play 3 copies of Gearsuit the Orcust Mech Knight. On normal or special summon, it sends an orcust monster from or World Legacy card from the deck to the graveyard. If it's the only monster on the field, it produces a token for both you and your opponent. So in theory, there's a way for you to summon this, not activate the Foolish Burial, give us both a token each, and then later on in the turn, reborn this to send. But it just depends on what your opponent has. And then its third effect, it's not really used in this deck. If it's summoned to a zone where there's 3 or more cards in the column, it becomes a tuner. But again, that effect is rarely used. I then play 3 copies of Orcust Heart Power. Now this has been up to from 2 to 3 from the last deck profile. There was some times where I weren't seeing this enough, but sometimes I was so it's just trying to find that right balance. Because I've taken a card out of the deck, I thought I needed a 40th card to put in place of this card. So Heart Power was the choice. I then play 1 Nightmare and 1 Simple Skeleton. Nightmare basically is an extra copy of Foolish Burial, where Simple Skeleton is basically a monster reborn. So you've got to play at least one of each. Now, if you were playing a hybrid version of the deck, some people were cutting Nightmare altogether. I think that was bad choice, but yeah, 1's perfect. And then I played a 1 copy of World Crown. Basically, it's a searchable extra negate. And then the final Orcust Dark Machine World Legacy card is NT 8000 Sirius. It's basically if you foolish it off of Nightmare and you use a Dark Machine Darkling Monster's effect, you can just bring it back to the board. So basically, instead of having to use the World Legacy wand to banish itself to reborn something, you can just bring this back instead. You can just summon this instead. And it's basically, you're not jumping through as many hoops to get that extra body on board. Onto the Orcust spells / traps. I played the 1 copy of Foolish Burial. People say this isn't an Orcust card, but the whole deck gimmick of this deck is to send cards to the graveyard. So it is an Orcust card in my opinion. It's mandatory in Orcust. And then the searchable Babble, the Orchestrated Return, and then the 1 Crescendo. I've noticed that when I've had Orcust names in hand, not the Nightmare, sorry. I've had Nightmare in hand, no way to discard it because I've already used the Galate Eyes effect to discard a card to, and there's other cards that you want to get into the graveyard as well as. So return's just a way to A, bait out hand traps, and it does bait out hand traps, but B, it allows you to dig 2 cards deeper into your deck to get to your other cards that you might want to see, like your hand traps. So I think return is a mandatory one of. Onto the fiendsmith engine. He needs no introduction. Engraver. Discard it to add tracked, and then you basically go full fiendsmith combo, or your opponent uses their hand traps on the fiendsmith engine, which allows you to go full orcust combo. Really, if they don't hand trap the fiendsmith engine, you go into Caesar before 5 summons, and then it basically says, yeah, you need proof, but also you can go into your orcust combos as well. The card that should have been banned, Fabled Lurie, it's basically a free body on board. Fabled Lurie is one of the reasons why. Fabled Lurie is one of the reasons why this deck, this engine, is still playable, but not been hit as much as it should have. If they would have hit this, banning it, basically, the fiendsmith engine is no longer viable unless you specifically go into a light fiend from the extra deck, which there isn't many apart from Exciton Knight. And if you're making Exciton Knight, you're nuking the board, and then you're going to fiendsmith after that. But that puts you into nib range yourself. I then play 1 Lacrima. She's a foolish burial for your fiendsmith cards. And then the 1 of tracked. Now I was playing 3 tracked, but I was just seeing it when it's a dead card. So I've reduced it to 1, and I'm finding it better than ever. Onto the hand traps. 3 Ash Blossom and Joy Spring. Ash is just generically good in every matchup, so yeah. 3 Fuelos. Fua is just good, generically good in everything, every matchup. Because every deck nowadays, whether it's Rogue, Meta, all summon from the deck or the extra deck. So it's just generically good. A controversial hand trap that some people think is ban worthy. I don't think it is ban worthy. I think it's needed in the game today, because basically every deck searches multiple times. It's the decks that basically every deck searches, so it makes you become a better duelist, in my opinion. It just basically says, yeah, you've been trolled. What can you do with the cards that you've got in your hand now? And in my opinion, Droll is just basically, you've got to think on your feet. You've got to think, okay, they've drolled me. How can I play around Droll now? And also play under it as well. What board can I set up with under Droll? And a lot of players can't do it, so they think it's ban worthy. Three Ghost Bow. Bow is good. It generically against 90, I'd say about 75% of the meta. So I think it's, you either main deck it or you side it. I'm maining it at the minute. I then play the Funnel Hand Trap, 3 Infinite Impermanencies. And then on the 3 Forbidden Droplet. Now you want to discard cards from your deck, from your hand to the graveyard or from the field. So this basically allows you to get to your orcust engine if there's stuff stuck in your hand. The final 2 cards is the 1 Talent and the 1 Call by the Grave. This should be at 3. There's so many hand traps out there that stops decks, and if you draw the 1 off, Saki 1 off, it says you only won because I've had players say, oh, you only won because you drew the Saki 1 of Call by the Grave. And Talent, personally, I think should be banned. Basically, going first, your opponent uses a hand trap. Oh, I look at your hand and basically get rid of your starter. Now you're 1 card down. I've got all hand knowledge, so I know if you've got other hand traps that can slow me down, but also you've just lost your 1 card starter unless you draw it on your next turn. Onto the extra deck. We'll start off with the Orcust extra deck cards. 1 Galatea, 2 Galatea, 1 Longirsu, 1 Enlingirsu, and 1 Dingirsu. Now, the 2 Galatea and the 1 Longirsu are these are just standard ratios. There are talks about cutting Longirsu because it doesn't do enough in the grind game. Yes, it sends a card to the graveyard, but what else is it gonna do? But again, and playing a second copy of Enlingirsu, which I am actually considering playing a second copy of this instead of the Longirsu, but I'm still testing at the minute. At the moment, I'm finding that 1 of each is the right ratio. Galatea searches your field spell, or it searches the World Crown. Depends on what you need to search in. So if you open the field spell, you search the World Crown. If you have the World Crown, you search the field spell. Basically, you're already getting to what you need to. So at the moment, I'm still testing, so I'm not 100% sure if it's the right ratios. Onto the fiendsmith, 1 Requiem, 1 Sequence, 1 Desiree, 1 Necroquip, and then DDD Wave High King Caesar. Everyone's saying ban Requiem, but if they ban Requiem, they kill the engine. If they ban Lurie, you've got to play more into Nibiru, and also you've got to think about you've got to play into Nibiru more, and you've also got to think about as well, if You've got to play into Nibiru more, and also you've got to play... You've got to think about what other ways to get into Requiem. You've got to use another extra deck slot to get into Requiem. So you've got... And this extra deck is tight as it is. I don't think there's apart from the extra Elengirsu, there's no space left. We play 1 IP, 1 SP Little Knight. These two are mandatory in my opinion. Going IP into SP. If you get the full orcust board, you can go IP. You can make an IP, and then in your opponent's turn, make SP for another interruption. And then I play the 1 Gorgon. Basically, it's a skill drain. Against Lunar Lights, it basically kills the Lunar Light deck. Especially if you make it with the IP Masquerade. If they wipe your board and you've got IP into this, you chain the IP into this, into the zones where it points to. It's got 38. It's gaining attack points. Can't be destroyed by card effects, so it's basically against the Liger Dancers. It hurts them. And then the 1 copy of Bolsword Dragon. It's your other way out of the Liger Dancers. Onto the side deck, I play the Bestials. Now, this would have been Boulder Drake, but I haven't got any copies for some reason. Magnemut and then Drewsworm. Three Nibiru, the Rock, three Triple Tactics Thrust. Now Thrust is in here for the next card. So if your opponent hand traps you and you've got this in hand, if you can still make the Orcust end board, but you would end on Dingisu instead. You would leave Dingisu on the board instead of going into IP because of this card here. The next card that I'm about to... Eradicate Epidemic Virus. Basically, this card just says, yeah. You call spells, it destroys all spells on their field and in their hand. So basically it just says, yeah, no. It cuts off a third of the deck which is, in this day and age, 90% of decks are only running are running 20 monsters and then 20 spells. There's not many decks in the game right now that are playing traps unless you're playing Labyrinth or Paleozoic, exactly. And no one's playing Paleozoic in 2025. And then the final 3 cards. 3 Dominus Impulse in the side deck. $40 card main. 15 extra deck. 15 side deck. We'll do a test hand and see what we can do with that test hand. mystery opponent will cut the deck just because we want them to. And we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we haven't got all we haven't got access to the fiendsmith engine, but we've got the orcust engine online. So the first thing we will do is normal summon Gears of the Orcust Knight, activate effect. We're going to Foolish Burial, Harp Horror. We are now going to use Gears' secondary effect to give us both us and our opponent a token each. Link the token off and then activate effect. Add the World Legacy Crown. We're going to be going back into it, but we're going to special summon the and then link these two off. Activate effect by banishing to special summon itself. Foolish Burial to we're going to send Nightmare. Activate effect, target this, shuffle it back. And we're going to set the counter trap card. Activate this. Now we're going to use the Harp Engrave. To special summon the skeleton. We are going to overlay and then activate effect to equip. We're going to link these two off. Into the second Galatea. Banish. We're going to Foolish. But because I Dark Link monster will use his effect will trigger to special summon itself. Link 4. This gets banished. We're going to use this, put it back into the hand, and then shuffle it to take control of the token. We're going to use Symbol Skeleton to bring back Harp. Link the token and Harp off into IP Masquerena. Set a card face down. Opponent's turn. So I've got a interruption to return a card to hand and then shuffle a card back to the deck to take control of opponent's monster. I've got an Omni Negate. I have an Imperm. I have a quick effect to Foolish Burial to summon something. To banish this, summon something. To go into an IP Masquerader for not a SP Little Knight. So I've got what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 interruptions. Seven including the SP Little Knight. So I know what people are going to be saying. How are you going into SP when you've got two without using your World Crown? That's easy. Harp. You would banish it to summon. Depending on what you want to summon, you would summon Gearsu, which will trigger on summon to then summon to banish this. So basically you've got a new body, or you'll be using this effect to steal one of your opponent's monsters. And then you've got the IP into the SP Little Knight, because all it takes it to affect monsters. Thank you for watching the deck profile and combo tutorial. I will see you in the next one.